don't make a lot of desserts, but once in a while,
Tell me about
a good pie is, you know, something to go for. And so people are confused about making a good whole grain pie crust, and so I'm going to show you how. So I got two kinds of flour here. I've got whole wheat pastry flour, and that's really important because if you get whole wheat flour without the pastry in there, it's a tougher flour, great for bread making, not so great for muffins and cookies and pie crusts. And so you want whole wheat pastry flour. And I've got unbleached white flour here. If I used unbleached white flour for the whole thing, it would be kind of a more traditional crust, but you wouldn't get any of that fiber in there. So I'm going to use part whole wheat pastry flour and part white flour. And you can decide what ratio you want. Could be 1 to 1. The recipe is 2 cups of flour. So I'm going to use 1½ whole wheat pastry flour and 1/2 of a cup of white flour.
You got guts.
Yes. Okay, and you want to measure carefully, back of the knife, across the top, just like that. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay. Then the other thing that goes in here is a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. That's it. That's my starting point. Now I'm doing this in the food processor, but you could also do this with 2 knives in a bowl or a fork. You just want to cut the fat into the flour. The fat I'm going to use is butter, which is going to give my pie crust flavor, and coconut oil, unrefined coconut oil, both organic. The flour is organic too. And the coconut oil is a saturated fat that's going to give the pie crust the texture you want. You could also use lard if you have some good lard around. Okay, so I'm going to put this cold butter in here.
It's not like from the freezer or just cold?
And then I'm going to put in my coconut oil. And we're going to cut that fat into the flour. And the coconut oil is at room temperature because when it's cold, you can hardly get it out of the jar. Okay, here we go.
Can you take the butter out of the freezer?
So you want this pie, this dough, this to look kind of like pebbly sand. That's what you want it to look like. Oh, it's doing pretty good here. I'm looking for how lumpy it is. Looks great. Okay.
I got some message about coconut oil here.
So it looks kind of like sand that's kind of had something in it. Yeah, wet sand.
Okay. Coconut oil contains lauric acid, which is antimicrobial, antifungal, antioxidant.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Steve. Okay, so then I'm going to drip ice cold water into here. How much water? Well, the recipe says 1/4 cup plus because it's going to depend on how I measured the flour, how much whole grain flour. That's going to take more moisture, stuff like that. What I want to have this be is something where the texture and the look of it tells me if it's ready or not, if it has enough water or not. So I'm going to drip that water in here, and what I want to see is it starts to form a ball. Okay, just drip, drip, drip. Yeah, you know, you're right. It has all that stuff in it, the
lauric acid.
All those. That's because it was a traditional fat in the tropics, and so having it be antifungal and antimicrobial and antioxidant, you know, kept it from going bad.
It says here that it converts to energy easily rather than accumulating in the arteries.
That's right. So you can get nice energy from your. Oh yeah, there we go. Perfect. Perfecto. So see, it kind of got balled up in there and stopped, and that's exactly the right amount of water for the whole thing. Now I'm going to put a little bit of flour down on this countertop, and notice I'm not using wood because wood's kind of warm and this is a cold countertop.
Okay, I still have a question about the butter. Should it come from the freezer or can it just be cold? Does it matter?
Just cold, not from the freezer. Okay. Now, important, I'm going to, as soon as possible, take that blade out so that nobody gets hurt. Okay. Okay.
Who would do it with a blade?
And yes, I did wash my hands. I did wash my hands. I know you're always telling me about that. So, okay. So now this, oh, this looks fabulous. Just fabulous. Can you see the texture on that? It's nice and soft, and it's going to make the best pie you ever saw in your whole life. Now, this is enough for a double crust, which is great. Or I can divide it in half and use, you know, bring out one half for a quiche or something like that. And, you know, Steve, I'm going to low impact aerobics, and I'm almost late. So will you wrap this up in plastic?
Okay, wash your hands.
And then, oh yeah, and then when in about 30 minutes or so, would you roll those out for me, and then I can come back and make something else out of that?
Sure. Okay, it's been in here about a half hour. You know, I learned something from watching her do that, and I wasn't adding enough water. So mine are always hard, and I keep them in the refrigerator until they get hard. Okay, this is awesome. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit of this here. Oh, this is so much better, much better. From the middle out. This is the cool part. This is awesome. Okay, here we go. First of all, you fold it once, like that. Perfect, simple. Fold it again, very gently, like that. Not perfect, but good. And then you take this point, and you put the point right in the middle. Simple as that. And you simply unfold it like a blanket. Yes. Okay, I'm pretty proud of myself right about now.